What's up, YouTube? How's everybody doing out there today? Okay, well, hey, I've gotten a lot of new books, um, in the last couple months, man. I've been reading a lot of books. If you watch my channel, if you pay attention, or if you don't watch my channel, if you pay attention to the social justice warrior nonsense that's going on in our country, um, you know, it seems to me we're headed to at least in the university world with the young people, we're headed to what I would call basically a totalitarian society. And really, in my opinion, right now we're actually living in a dystopian society. I mean, dystopian fiction has become really popular. I just did a video just a few minutes ago on Sinclair Lewis's book, It Can't Happen Here. That book is completely relevant, of course, to the presidential elections that we all just experienced with Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump hasn't done much for us all in the end, has he? But he has done a lot for Saudi Arabia and Israel. But I will say that he at least is not messing with gun rights. That's a good thing. And I didn't have to pay the Obamacare fine. So I did get kind of what I expected from Trump, at least in regards to that. Many other issues remain, though, and that's another story. He's still a warmonger, still working for big corporations. It's not much difference than Obama or Bush or, Bush or Clinton or whoever, all of them working for big corporations with agendas that are not their own, but have to be pushed because there's people that need to make some money and big money. Anyways, well, in regards to fiction, though, an interesting book that I just picked up with a foreword by Milo Yiannopoulus, coincidentally enough, is a book called Forbidden Thoughts. It is put out by a press called Superversive, and they are out of I believe San Francisco. I could be wrong about that. I believe they're from San Francisco. It's a pretty good book. It's a collection of dystopian short stories regarding kind of the natural outcome if things continue as they do in regards to the social warrior mentality, which seems to basically give complete freedom, for example, to Islam. And then they create a word like Islamophobia so that any sort of real criticism of Islam is basically immediately categorized as being some sort of hate speech, or some sort of racist or closed-minded observation, that there's problems with that religion. In fact, I don't want to go on about Islam right now. But anyways, this book, so it kind of follows the course of things right now if we were to continue on this path. So it really fits the idea, again, of dystopia. There's a lot of good stories in here. There's a couple pieces of nonfiction regarding comic books. All in all, you get like at least, what is it, about 20 stories more or less. There were a few I didn't read. They got too long or they were too silly. Not many now, mind you. But there were a couple that I still need to go back and read. My favorite piece, though, if anybody's interested, was a piece called Graduation Day by a writer who calls himself or herself Chrome Oxide. Man, oh man, and it's called Graduation Day, and it's about a father going to visit his daughter who's graduating from college. But there's some really, just great stuff in here. I'll read a couple quotes from this story in particular. I do recommend you pick it up, though. And again, it's got a really good foreword by Yiannopoulus talking about the state of science fiction and, the relationship to social justice warriors that has developed with science fiction and comic books and all this type of thing, and how they've tried to put their agendas pretty much everywhere. Like even I was just reading this, and this is off the subject, so I'm going to go to a real quick tangent. But in Australia, Ben and Jerry's ice cream is not letting you get 2 scoops of the same flavor, okay? Because they're trying to make a statement on LGBT marriage equality. So in other words, you're not supposed to have 2 scoops the same because they don't allow you to marry the same kind of person, male or female. In Australia, there's still a lot of progress. But my point would be is if I'm going to get ice cream, I really don't want a freaking political statement. And that's how everything is. The media is that way. Star Wars, films, news, television shows, everything has these political agendas, intertwined with the story now, where it just can't be a story, or for that matter, you just can't go to Ben and Jerry's and just buy ice cream. It's got to turn into a political event. You're making a statement when you don't, if you buy 2 scoops or whatever, and they won't allow you to buy 2 scoops now. So of course you're supposed to go, oh, metaphorically, that's like 2 men who like each other and can't get married. If I can't buy 2 scoops of ice cream, see the metaphorical connection? Anyways, so I'm tired of all that crap. The university campuses have probably become the biggest nest of this regressive stupidity, this closed-mindedness, this disgust with the facts of things. So anyway, so let me share a couple lines from this book that I really liked. Let me just kind of, it talks about drone technology being everywhere. Everybody's wired into the system. This guy here, for example, he says, because of my white privilege, my education ended in high school where I was trained as a programmer. 5 minutes into my first job, I became a criminal when I hacked the national database and inserted a data hound to record any queries into my record. Okay, kind of like that. Then there's after-birth abortion activists. Okay, watch out. So in other words, you can be aborted. You're already here. You're a human being. But if your thoughts aren't right, you can be aborted post-birth. Get it? So that's a nice little idea. Let me see here. What's another one? Here's a funny line, which I would not doubt seeing sometime in the future. Free speech is too valuable to waste on people who disagree with us. Somebody had written also. He's looking at basically kind of what would be a free speech board, so to speak. There's even piles of rocks were placed around the quad for when women, gays, or infidels needed to be stoned to death. And he says, on the sidewalk nearby, someone had chalked messages for the students. Kill Jews, kill white people, kill pigs. I was glad to see that even though diversity of thought was encouraged, no one had written anything hateful. So, it's all, ironic or oxymoronic or whatever term you want, but, it's like there's a total disconnect between the actual words and the thought that's involved. It's like double think, like in 1984, what he's talking about, this writer. But yeah, there's some great stuff in here. There's some stuff about these people who identify as different groups. Guns are scary and evil. I know I don't want it, but I have no choice. Since I received my participation trophy in community activism and wealth distribution, it is my duty to use this thing to fight the greedy, oppressive, patriarchal society. It is unfortunate the wealthy don't understand that this is for their own good and the good of society. And then the 2 girls are talking. He's watching his daughter, listening, whatever. My drone hasn't arrived yet. I wonder what my career will be. I'm sure whatever career the government selects for you will be the right one. The government never makes mistakes. That makes me feel better. And then they whisper, they say, today I'm self-identifying as a lesbian Hispanic female. What race and gender are you today? I'm self-identifying as a gay black male. White males are prohibited from self-identifying as anything other than themselves because of their white privilege and defective DNA. And then she says, do be careful about cultural appropriation. All right, so this book is, this story is really, really sarcastic. Speaking of that, though, here's a funny one, cultural appropriation. You heard about Portland, Oregon had this thing, a burrito shop that was run by 2, I guess, white women, young white women, who their business was basically run out of town because they said, some newspaper or some organization up there got upset because they said it was cultural appropriation and they were basically stealing burrito recipes. How the hell do you steal burrito recipes? It's not like anything, that's not like something unknown. That's absolutely ridiculous. But anyways, that's the kind of world we're living in. So I think that this book is a good warning for the kind of stupidity that we could be in for. And of course, if this dystopian society that we're in continues on the path we're in, it'll reach a point where there will be generations, probably within the next 10, 15 years, that aren't going to even know what the idea of actual freedom of thought is. They're not going to understand what real debate is. They're not going to understand rhetoric. They're not going to understand, how to use grammar, for that matter, correctly. So anyways, I like the back to danger, do not think. Again, Forbidden Thoughts, Superversive Press. If you get a chance, pick it up. You can order it on Amazon. That's where I got this. I went ahead and ordered it. Again, I highly recommend it. It's a fat book. It's a good price. I think I paid like $14 or something for it. It's 340 pages. So you're getting a lot. You get about 20 stories, like I said, 2 pieces of nonfiction. You got a foreword by Milo Yiannopoulus. So definitely something to take a look at, and I'm surprised there's no other reviews of this book up on YouTube. But I guess not enough people are even bothering to read books anymore, so that's another story, right? Nothing new. All right, anyways. So again, Forbidden Thoughts, pick it up. I highly recommend it. Another quick book review today. All right, guys, y'all take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Stay thinking free. Stay thinking critically. Watch out for people texting. Alvarado out.